Let's go.
It's gonna be fine. Yeah, yeah. I'm not worried, but yeah. But you have like the binary perspective, right? Like not non-binary because you're using both pronouns.
Well, I don't like defining gender by pronouns. I like just saying I am a binary trans woman because I'm going through a binary transitioning.
Yeah.
But my gender identity is very fluid. So that's who I am, but I just use she, they.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's more comfortable for me to have a mixed, like, you know.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, this is their seat, so she's gonna sit there, you know. Like,
So I don't
yeah.
say anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we're in the same boat. It's just not like a problem. Am I gonna be like, oh, you wanna fight? No.
I'm weak.
Oh, somebody called. You see? Zain. Kan jeg stå utenfor frem til du introduserer oss? Since it's warm in here, og jeg har på meg ull. Will you come in? Kan du komme inn? Sit.
Har du en penn? Mabel on these two.
Okay. Sit to that.
Yeah.
Am I? Hi. Yeah, I'm just here. Straighten it, like I put effort into my curls. I like calling straighten my hair washing. So it's like I put in effort today.
Welcome to the Trans Cafe. We're going to do this in English, so I hope that's fine. We are here to talk about non-binary and trans people, obviously, and how the two identities overlap. So we have Sultan and Mabel, Sultan Haddadin and Mabel Holan, who are going to talk today. I just want to thank our friends in Nurko and Asata, who's in the back here, and they brought books and queer stickers and queer books, obviously. So check them out later if you want to, or you should.
Become members, borrow their books, read them.
Yeah, and also read the books.
And hand them back, not read them.
Yes. Okay, then give a hand for Mabel and Sultan.
I just have no my phone back. So.
Hi. Hi. Okay. Good. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna do this improv in English. Thank you for being here. As Mona said, we're gonna discuss the trans experiences, and we're gonna try to look at like the non-binary trans experience and the binary trans experience. We were supposed to have a third contestant here today, but unfortunately they are not able to make it. So you'll have to deal with us. I hope you'll survive. So my name is Mabel Hulan. I'm a poet, workshop creator. I do some lectures, and I try to do as much activism as I feel comfortable with. I identify as transgender non-conforming, and when that gets complicated, I use the non-binary label. And this is Sultan Haddadin. Would you like to present yourself?
Yeah, I can do it. My name is Sultan Haddadin. I identify as a trans woman. Louder? Okay. A binary trans woman. To be more specific, I am into the binary transitioning. My gender identity is very fluid, but I like to go with women because that's how I feel. I use she, they pronouns, and I work as an influencer, activist, and content creator, and I also try my best to be an activist.
Yes, and you were also recently nominated for Skamløsprisen here in Norway.
Proud.
Yeah, which is, yeah.
Thank
I
you.
nominated for SDPs just now, earlier.
Oh,
Me?
wow.
Yes, you were one of the nominees.
Oh, really? Wow. Oh, okay. How did I know? Wow.
Sexual and sexual had one bit. You were on the list, so you got nominated.
Wow. Okay. I need to double check this. I'm not good. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, so I wanted to start off with looking into your background because you're from Jordan originally, or whatever we call it, but you grew up here in Norway. And I'm very curious as to...
Sorry, use the microphone. It's so...
Yes.
Are we loud in here?
Okay, so
here you
I'll
go.
pass this to you then.
Okay.
Oh, now I have to deal with my own voice. I don't like that. Okay, so I'm assuming that your culture is rich, is beautiful, it's exciting, but also you've been very open about how it is when you start breaking the norms, like you have done in many ways. And I wanted to see if you could share with us like the intersection of being of Jordanian background and having this trans experience.
What can I say? I'm born and raised in Jordan, actually. I moved to Norway in 2015. I was 11, turning 12. Very young age, and I was about started experimenting with myself and what feels comfortable for me. When I grew up with 3 sisters and 1 brother, and a mother and father. My dad moved to Norway in 2010 or 11, so I was just 7, 8 years old. So since then, I haven't properly seen him or had contact with him for 5 years, till we moved here as family reunion. That is number 1. And in that period of time when we're growing up, my brother is 8 years older than me. So when I was 8, he was 16. So we had, of course, different topics that we were interested in, different stuff that we did with our lives. I was a child, he was a teenager. So we did not really have good contact at all. We maybe play a little video game together, but that was it. He was more busy about going to the gym, school, friends, drinking, and that stuff. So I spent more time with my little sister, who is 2 years younger than me, and my older sister, who is 2 years older than me. And they're very type of feminine girls who like to have the most fabulous hair, nails, started makeup, clothes, and fashion. And I also have an older sister who is born in 1991, so she's 31, I believe. So these are the people that I actually spent a lot of time growing up. So at a very young age, I recognized that I felt more comfortable with the feminine side. I just did not have the words or enough knowledge to describe what I felt or how it is for me to be who I am. So I just went with the flow, My sister would go to the mall, go buy nail polish, and then they come home. And instead of trying the nail polish on themselves to see how it looks, they would use my nails. So they would try it on me, and if they like it, okay, we'll do this one. And I'm sitting there with my nails, yeah. Wait, can we do this one? And it's I can see in her eyes, why the fuck are you asking? But I'm I tried to hide it because I just did not know if it was right or wrong. And also back in Jordan, I come from a very Christian background, you know. You get baptized and you go to church every Sunday and you have these youth meetings on Friday. Like you spend the whole week in the church. So that's like what I'm used to. So I never got to see people around me that were queer, trans, or had any type of experience. It just was in me. And whenever I tried to live it out, I would either like be muted with looks, or my mom will get mad, like, why are you doing that, you know? But some other days, if she has like a good day, it would be fine. And around the time my dad moved, I got interested more into fashion and clothes. I would be in my mom's closet, and she would, you know, have a wedding. She'd be like, no, mom, wear this, wear that. You know, and like going to open, because she had like a whole closet with purses, so I'd be like, brown and beige, that will match this one. Okay, let's do that. And then I started even doing runways for her, like presenting like looks on me, like this oversized dress. And that's like how I first like got to experience. But I was also very much a wrestling fan, because I grew up with a brother who is currently Asia's bodybuilder champion for 3 years in a row. So he's also up there with the things he do. So that's how I grew up as well. And my dad, who would you know, buy the WWE when the PlayStation 1 and 2 to play. So I was very like much this, like, I had two sides, a very masculine wrestling side, who liked to be strong and have my voice heard, but also this feminine side who also wanted to be heard, but also like have a mix of those two. But it was very confusing when I like growing up, because I was like, can I be a girl and be masculine? Can I be a boy and can I be masculine? Can I be nothing? So it was that part that kind of, what can I say, confused me, as well as my parents being very binary and very religious in a way where like anything like LGBTQ would be a sin to them. You know, if you was at the mall and you see like a man with like these super tight skinny jeans, and like he would like have like this feminine brows, mom would be like, oh look, I'm not gonna use the slur, but you get it. So to me, it was like, okay, like it kind of scared me, because it kind of woke something in me that was like, maybe that's me, but the second was like, okay, I'm not gonna say nothing. But then we moved to Norway when I was 11, and I did not come out to my mom first, actually. I came out to the youth pastor, because she was this white, lovely, blonde woman who had 2 kids, and she was about to give birth to the third, so I was like very connected to her, you know, like that type of stuff. And I told her like I was having a very hard mental time. I was getting called slurs, I was getting bullied at school. For one thing is, growing up, I used to be one of the few people who were with minority background, you know. I'm very light in the skin now, but back then I was a little darker. I could not speak Norwegian properly. I speak 3 other languages as well, and I went to school with my little sister, so they would hear us communicate in Armenian or Arabic. And they'd be like giving us, you know, like, look, a lot of people were like using even 9/11 jokes about me, and at that time I didn't even understand that, because when you live in Jordan, nobody like cares. We all are the same, you know. Well, not technically, but yeah. So it was a lot of the times were being confusing, because again, I like to play on the double minority thing, because it's actually a reality, and it's something that's like you don't feel fitting in any of those boxes. So to break through that part of being, yes, I can be brown and I can be from the Middle East and this and that, and also be trans, but also doing that in a white-based country that it does not really have, what I can say, enough space, or just, I don't have to describe it, but like, you know, being queer and POC. So it's kind of like 2 worlds where I live in. Like I can't touch in this side and be trans, but I can't touch in this side and be brown and trans. So it felt like very much like I had to pick sides, but I could not, because I could not fit in here or there. So yeah, that's basically at least the start.
Thank you. I love the fact also that you were highlighting that you come from a Christian background, because I think a lot of people in Norway or in the Western world usually thinks of Middle Eastern societies as that's right, predominantly Muslim, and also that like the harassment and the stuff that you've gone through is because of a religious Muslim background. So I think that is important for everybody to just take notes on, that this is not just a Islamic kind of thing. It's not. It's a migrant issue, or whatever you will call it. You're also sharing that, from what I'm hearing, that it was pretty open in your home to like play around with stuff. But would you mind giving us some more insight as to where did this collide happen? Because from nail polish to doing catwalks for your mom, and then suddenly this is not okay. Also, I would love for you to explore a little what it is to move in the Norway society, Norwegian society, as an Arabic trans woman. Yeah.
It was rough. It was really rough. Especially, I mean, I won't say I'm quite early in my transitioning, because it's kind of like this mental and physical transitioning. This is something also my ballroom mother learned me, and she was saying this to me. Sultan, I feel like you rushed your transitioning mentally, that you can't keep it up with your, with the physical transitioning, so that any small thing will bother you. But once you look in the mirror and wake up, you're like, oh, okay, actually, I haven't fully transitioned into what I want to be. So am I actually getting mad or annoyed at small things that should not bother me because it's not my choice? And that is something I was like, oh, okay, actually you're into something. But when like the problem started coming out, where the things collided, was when I started growing older, and when I moved here to Norway, especially because the older I got, the more curious my mom was, thinking about like, because in her head she was like, oh, it's just a child who wants to play, you know, it's like a face. You won't like you grow into it. But the older I got, I remember also like I have like saved my hair very long. And I was like very happy with it, but she wanted me to cut it, so I cut the sides and the back, and had like a little ponytail up here. And she would still be mad, because she'd be like, oh, you look so girly, da da da. And I used to have like, not like this permanent coloring, but like just like every time at the salon, I would like get a new color, like green, like pink, like purple, and I was not embarrassed, you know. I would get comments, I would get looks, but when you're 11, 12, you don't really think about that, because you just live in your own fantasy, like, okay, this looks fab, I want to look fab. So that was it for me. But then my dad started reacting to it, especially when we moved here. In his head, he still thinks like I was this 7, 8 years old kid who he views as a masculine boy who likes wrestling, because he never really got to see or like touch in with my feminine side. So when he like saw me with like my long hair, and he was like asking me if I have girl crushes, I'm like, what the fuck, like me? Not me. And he was like, oh, isn't this girl beautiful? I'm like, yeah, but like, what do you want to do? What do you want to think? Because I was very confused. But then also like the more like I distanced myself, because I realized there wasn't a lot of it, he would start making rules for me. Like he would be checking up on my iPad, or like I would not be allowed to have my iPad in my room when I sleep, which is very normal for parents to have, but like he would do it on the background of like there's something I'm hiding. And that's something that I was hiding, was me like literally searching what a drag queen means, because I was getting called that at the school. You know, and I was like, that's how I actually got into Drag Race, but that's a different topic. So it was like those stuff like started with it, and then like the older I got, the more he would be like reacting. And I remember even like in like late 2016, after like I've been living here for a year and a half, he all of a sudden rented his own apartment and moved away from us. And he's still married to my mom, which I also find very weird, because in my head it's like you guys barely have contact, you live for each other, but you guys are still married. Like if it works, it works. But to me, as an insider who knows how the family situation is, I found it very like difficult. Especially like when we came here, the point was to reconnect with him and start a new life in a new country, you know, the whole case. And we did not get to do that because there was a lot of miscommunication, and a lot of the times he would be talking to me as if I was 7 years old. And that would bother a 12 years old who's trying to grow up and find out who they are. A lot of the time he would need me to help him with stuff. Sultan, can you help me post this thing on Facebook? Type of stuff. And a lot of it were like type of political stuff that I don't agree with or like felt comfortable with. Especially my dad, his name is Uni, which means like a helper in Arabic. But my dad has also a very difficult background. He grew up with a black dad, or was my granddad, and also a Palestinian mother. And having these two, like, you know, my granddad is dead now, but he was born then. Well, when he was born in the 30s, 1930s, so he was old when he died. But like at that time, through the wars, through the Palestinian and, you know, the type of stuff there too, it was very hard for him as a black man living in the Middle East in a time where things being taken over, the colonization and all of the stuff. and the French were in Jordan till the 1967. No, not the French, the British, but same shit. I don't care really about that. So they had a lot of conflicts growing up, and even when I was born, my granddad was like, we need to have something powerful in the family. Because my grandname is Abd, which means slave in Arabic. And for him, as a black man in the Middle East, having a name given by the states for who he is was very sad. So he was like, let's name this child Sultan, which means like a king, something powerful. And that's the picture my dad always have of me as well. So like when he was like, why are you being feminine? You're not being a sultan. You're not like, I'm taking pride. Or like where's your shame, you know, like type of stuff about that. And I'm like, but like, this is who I am. So he moved away, and then I started even experimenting more, because my mom would not really worry about it until she sees it.
Yeah.
If she sees me having like a little, if I was having gym at the school, I would wear like tights. And she'd be like, oh, why can't you wear just shorts? I'm like, but I have hairy legs. And she'd be like, and you're a man. I'm like, no. You know, but like I could not, like, I did not feel like, I don't have enough courage to answer her, because I really did not have the words to, again, describe what I felt. I just knew it was something wrong that I wanted to fix and be, what can I say, talked to as. So whenever she would be like, oh, boy, man, use like these type of terms, I'd be like, is that really who I am, you know? So like, and then I came out to the pastor, as I said, and we planned a meeting with my mom. We told her about it, and she would deny it. She would be like, no, you can't be trans. And if you're like a confused gay boy, then let's take you to therapy, conversion therapy. And that's what she actually did, both in the school and the church. And what's funny is that it never like made sense to me, because I never felt properly like as a gay boy. You know, I would like try to live my life as it, because that's what the people would tell me, but like it still feels something weird. So when I would buy myself wigs, like order them online from Wish and AliExpress, because they come like in this gray package that you can't really see what's inside, so that I would like, when I get a message, I would go down probably like quick, pick it up and up to my room to hide it, so nobody will see it. And then I will use it on, I put my sister's makeup on, and I'll be in the mirror like, okay, that's more me. And I would be like, but am I a drag queen? Am I just a feminine person? And none of these actually fit me, so it was more of this being a woman. So the more I learned more into it, and I tried explaining to my mom, the more mad she got, the more she would like, if you're gonna do that, then you can't live with us. We can't live under the same roof. And in that time, I was 13, 14, like right before I got kicked out of the house. And I was very much like, but like, what do you want me to do, you know? And a lot of the times I would have to spend nights outside until like the morning, which she would wake up and she would have to go to work or school. And she would like let me in the house to like eat breakfast or get dressed and then go to school. So I would be like, because we lived in this block, so I would be like just walking around with like from 1, 2 a.m. to like 6 a.m. and then I would go in when she allows me and then do that. And I remember also like even in 2016, like, and 17 actually, like in those periods of time between the end and the start, I spent like 2 months staying at this youth pastor house because I felt more comfortable there because I could not stay at home. And we come from a culture and tradition where being abusive both physically and verbally is very normal. So like when we moved to Norway, my mom was like, she felt like she could not hit me anymore because that was illegal, and that would be like my protection from that. But at the same time, it was not kept up, and I did not want to like be mean or like stand up against my own mother, you know, because I care about my blood in a way where I don't want to throw them under the bus, but like I could not let that keep happening to me. Especially when you grow older, it's not like you're being 5 years old and being told to not do this, you know. Being 14 years old, having my mom cut my wigs and throw my clothes away, screaming at me and like slapping me and telling me you can't do this and you can't do that. It felt very much like, who are you? You know, you are my mother, but you have no right. So that was number like 1 or 2, I don't remember. But then also the other part was she sent me to a Christian private school in, what is it, Trin in English? Well, you know, like different classes in one grade. Grades, yeah. Wow. I feel smart right now, hold on. No, right? So, so like in my grade, there was only 1 class, and we were literally 11 students in a Christian private school. So if it was bad in a school with 4 different classes in 1 grade, where we had different type of people, it was worse there. because the pastor and my mother were like, trust us, you will be fine there. You will meet great people who have the same belief as you, and you will be fine. I trusted them, you know. So okay, I am Christian, and I might be like trans or queer, but like I'm not gonna go out fully with it. But let's just see at least what my community have for me. Sadly, they were worse. Especially, I was the only person in the school, not in school, like grade and class, who was of color. So I went in a class with typical Frida, Jonathan, and then you have me, Sultan, Uni Abd, because I have it like as, you know, like my name and middle name. And I remember also when I started in the school, they had like wrote our names on every in each table, and she wrote like my name, my dad, and my granddad's name, because that's what I have in my first and middle name. And she read it out loud, and she's like, Sultan Uni Abd, and I was like, hey, yeah, I'm just Sultan, you don't need to take the rest. And they were like, I remember also the rest was looking at me, because I started in the middle of the year, so like, they were like very like, oh, okay, new classmate, and I come like, you know, with like hole here in my, I remember I had like this gray skinny jeans, and I had like a little type of crop top, and I was very like to myself distant. I knew some people from before because of the youth meetings, but a lot of them were like, who is this person? Like, they seem a little bit like this. And that was the vibes I was going for, honestly, but I was very like scared to be loud about it, because I know it's Christian, I know how it was to be in the church, but I was like, okay, let's give it a try. And then afterwards, the people were like coming up to me, the students were like, is that actually your name? Like, how do you spell it? I'm like, no, you can just say that. And that's when I felt like, okay, they were actually like looking for answers, they were interested. But then later on, they would be like making fun of me. Because they were like, when they would be asking like, isn't Sultan like a king name? I'm like, well, technically yes. And they would like play on, why are you feminine and why are you like being girly if you're like a sultan? I'm like, but names don't define gender or define stereotypes or how you're supposed to act. I'm a human being. Name is just a label to know who is who. That's really it. And so that was like the start of the stuff. People also would call me like slurs or like words like, I don't know if this is slurs, I don't know if I can say it. But like,
feel free to.
Okay, don't cancel me at least. No, Pakis, is that a slur? Okay, so let me not say it again. But like they would use also that word a lot, because also when I was younger I was a little more chubby. Again, I was a little more brown. I had like this little mustache on me. So people would, I don't know, would use that word. They would also use other words to describe me. And I was like, okay, that's weird, but like. That's when I also like realized that racism exists, and I was like experiencing it. Because in the other school, I thought it was like, oh, just like irritating, you know. The teacher would be like, oh, they're just irritating you. Especially a lot of the girls would be like, why are you so feminine? And they'd be like talking like, not talking shit, but they'd be like, is this what you're doing, like your home country type of stuff? And I was like, what do you mean, you know? So I was like this class clown basically, who people would make fun of, and I would just be like laughing with them because I thought it was fun at one time. But you know, you grow into it, and I started using more makeup often, my hair, and then you experience the other homophobia and transphobia. So at that time I experienced that both in school, church, and at home. So I did not have any place I could be 100% myself. Sometimes I would say I lost the bus just to take another bus, just to sit there listening to my Nicki Minaj's songs in peace without having my mom yell at me, turn that shit off. So that's like small times when I had to take train or bus, where I'd be like myself in my own little space where I could think, reflect, and listen, or like read stuff I want to do in peace. But yeah, it was rough moving into Norway, especially when I moved there. I already knew how I was. I was very like curious about, okay, we're coming into a new country, I don't know what to expect. My dad was happy. I'm like, oh, Sultan, you will find the most beautiful blonde and with blue eyes people here. I'm like, okay, thank you. But like, I did not like get the hint he was trying to hint. But I got here and then started off with racism, and then I was more comfortable being who I am. So then I started leaving the Christianity and the belief and the church. And also like after I finished school in 10th grade, I moved to my own apartment after having a foster home. So like, for me, life lately has been more about unpacking and removing labels and information that got inserted in my head that I actually don't need. And I think a lot of us queer trans people have that experience, that we get told who we can be, who we are, and how we can be actually. And then once you like realize who you are in your inner self, you have to like work in the outside, like, okay, I can actually do this, I can be that. And I think that's one of the most difficult tasks to do, because I feel like a lot of times we can also go around and judging ourselves in our heads without actually realizing it, because we feel like we need to live up to an expectation of what the world wants to see of us. Like today, I was like, wait, let me like shave and put on makeup, because I don't want to live with a 5 o'clock shadow calling myself a woman, because I don't want to like have those discussions with people. But I was like, honestly, no, let me be myself a little bit, you know, let me go out with my skirt, with the wind blowing my ass out, like just like being myself. And I was like, it's kind of funny though, because I'd be like on the metro, and like people would be looking and have like, oh, that's definitely a girl, and like I just turn around and be like, do you see this, Lisa? And I don't do it to like misgender myself or like make people make fun of me, but I like making people confused. I like proving them that binary is fucked up, you know? Because like from the behind, it's like, oh, she's a girl, and I turn like, wait, is that a trans woman? Is that a man? I'm like, take a guess. You know, I love that sometimes, even though like I might like face hate crimes, but it's like, you get used to it, come on. But also on my way here, I talked to Mona. I was going up the stairs, and a man, I was having music, and I felt like something going up between my ass cheeks. And I turned around, and there was a man walking behind me. I'm like, okay, what the fuck? And I tried like zigzagging my way out. So I go here, and then he runs up to me. And he was saying some stuff I could not hear because I was listening to music, but I felt harassed. So I looked at him, and then I went the other side. And then he went again behind me. And then I stopped and I turned around. I was like, what do you want? And he was like whispering stuff, and I could not hear it because I had one earring in and I was listening to music, and I was already pissed. I didn't want to like listen to his bullshit. I just wanted him to leave me alone. So I looked at him and listen. I just I just looked at him like up and down, and he was like talking to me like this, and I just looked at him up and down again, and then I tried to like go to whisper to his ear, and I just walked. And then I walked down to the like bus stop to take the 54 bus up here to like leave, and then he tried like following me, and then I took my phone up and I was like messaging you, but I was like this the whole time, and I was like, ugh, I don't want to, like, leave me alone. I did not sign up for this. And then what I had to do is I just went up, and I went in and then out again and then down and took the next bus because he then left me alone. So that is an experience I don't usually actually experience as a trans woman, because usually people are not comfortable with that in public, at least. Especially when you're not properly cis-passing, I would say. People will be like, oh, but I don't want to be called gay. I don't want to be this. I don't want to be da-da-da-da. And some people are just like closeted. But this man, like, even when I looked at him, like, can he call me a master? Could leave me alone? But I felt like he's like, yeah. And he was way older than me as well. So it was very a weird situation. And that's not the first time I have such an episode. And that stuff, like, you don't hear about them in my home country, because there it's like divided. You have the boys and the girls. It's very basic and very normal and common in Georgia to have schools for boys and for girls. You know, if it's like together, be like, oh really, like that's modern. So these are like stuff that I got growing up, learned to like, I don't really like experience, but like something I had to vana mig till. I don't know what that is, but getting used to here in Norway. So a little experience from today.
That's a lot of information. Let me check my notes.
Probably answered most of the questions.
I think you did.
I read them before I came, so I was like, let me go off.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. Thank you for sharing, because I think it's super important, and I also want you to be free to express yourself, because I think that a lot of the perspectives that you're bringing, even though they're coming like a wave upon a wave, I think that people need to hear it. And I also, because we're sitting here, like I'm black and you're brown, and both of us are under the trans umbrella, but I think that we are seeing a lack of representation in many ways, in terms of like, what is the queer movement, what does it look like. We have had like a lot of events the last year that have taken a toll, and I want to ask you, what do you think that the white trans movement in Norway needs to be aware of, like from your perspective?
Oh, I have to stand up for this one.
Stand up.
I have a lot in my heart about this topic, so thank you for asking. Okay, so let's go. Now looking at this room, I can tell most people are white. So I'm not gonna be fully like this, but I will be open more because I appreciate that you guys show up and want to learn and listen and talk and reflect. And I think this is a great way of doing it with people who are queer, allies, or trans, and might have white privilege, but also show up to a conversation between a black and a brown person, talking about their problems as trans individuals, but also as POC. Because before we're trans, I like to say that we're brown or black or ethnic, because when they see someone like this, they might see, oh, somebody's queer, but they also see my nose, they see my hair, they see my ethnic. I mean, if you know my name, if you know my identity, that's the first thing they will think of. Especially when I speak Norwegian or English, I also have a dialect because that's not my main language as well. So people recognize that. But back to the question, one of the things I feel the Norwegian, what is samfunnet again in English? Society, is that a lot of people think we're privileged because we have rights, which I say we don't actually have a lot of rights, which is number one, and two, they're not always practiced. And number three, if you're POC, you experience more problems, definitely. So, for example, let's talk about a white trans woman and a brown/black trans woman. The difference is we live in a country where 91% of the people are white. So what they're used to seeing is typical white people, Western beauty standards, white features, names, identities, cultures, food, clothing, traditions. So a lot of these stuff are people used to. So for a white trans woman, it's much easier for her to fit in because she is white, of course, right? She sees people around her, they see her, be like, okay, we are the same. But then also as a trans woman and having a white background or Norwegian background, usually most of them do have privilege or family support, which makes their transitioning easy and they're coming out easy. Now, I'm not saying everybody has it because most of them do have it as white people, but a lot of them don't. So we're not going to invalidate that. But what they have access to also as system, as representation, is very much insane. Because when they, let's say I made this new series with NRK, and it was like, it's coming out actually next week. And it's called Norske beefer, Norwegian beefs. And it's about beefs between influencers and famous people. And I'm in this one episode for beefing other influencers for misgendering and doing blackface. So what they say is that when they put the names and who they are, they wrote on me TikTok activist and like TikTok activist. And for the other one who's exactly the same as me, they put norsk kjendis. And I was like, but aren't we the same? Isn't this like why do I have this activist title just for doing the exact same thing? Now I know I'm very, like I am an activist, but like, you know when you feel like type of way like you don't get the same title as somebody else because they think they're more passing into the industry and the society, so they call them that. And I was like, can I ask why did I get called that? And like, no, we just thought that would fit you better. I'm like, why would it fit me better to be called a TikTok activist when I'm not even active on TikTok anymore? So I was very like curious, and then that's when you realize is that other people, and especially white, of trans experience have more privilege. But like also you feel the type of way where like when I'm around my white trans friends, I'm the one who's clocky with who I am in my behavior, and I have correct people about my gender and my pronouns, while she's there like, you know, like nobody mentioned me. And what's funny is that I can tell she's passing, but I also know she's trans, but like I would never out her because you never know somebody's experience. But for her, she feels, no, I'm not talking about her as a person, but like the white trans friends of mine, they or her, they feel the urge to say that about me. Like, yeah, this is my friend Sultan, she's trans. And it's like,
oh, really?
Yeah, like I'm more than just trans. And then that creates, of course, curiosity for people. Oh, how is it to be trans and brown? How is it to have an Arabic background? And to me, I'm standing there like, why are you asking those questions? And even sometimes people come up to me like, oh, I read about your family. I feel so bad that your mom kicked you out. And I'm like, I'm at the club like drinking, having fun. And like people come up bringing up trauma. And I'm standing there like, that was not necessarily, you could just say you support me, you love me, and that's good. And I feel a lot of the stuff comes up because somebody does not fit in a what so-called standard or a box. Especially as a trans woman like me, with literally still a full-on face beard, with laser hair removal, a little more masculine features in my body, my voice, my name, and even my ethnic features in my face are not so much passable for what a woman people would expect to see here. And if you put me with a white trans woman, people will be like, oh, but that's more pleasing to look at or have contact with, because I feel like she's more a real woman. And even a lot of the times I would have to defend white trans women or white trans people who would go through hate, but then that would put me on the line of experiencing both the hate and the racism. Yes. And those are stuff also I experienced from my own people who'd be like, oh, like, du är skam, what is that? Du är skam för oss.
Oh, you're ashamed for us.
Yeah, you're basically ashamed for us, your people. And that's something that also bothers me because that's some stuff white people don't actually experience. Have you ever heard a Norwegian come up, oh, you're ashamed for us Norwegian people just because somebody trans? You know, they were like, no, you're not a woman. Yeah. You're not a man. You're not non-binary. You can't be that. That's how people be usually when it comes to those people. And also, before they see your trans identity or before like they clock that you're white. And that's something like, oh, okay, never mind. But if you go on a metro and like this is something I actually try to look for. And let's just say like a cis black person comes in with braids. The moment they walk in the metro, you can see all the white people are looking like, oh, braids, oh, a black person, you know? And I'm sitting there like, oh, have you all like never seen stuff like that before? And that just shows how people are very much like, you know, and I'm not saying their looks are bad, but it just creates this attention of like somebody's existence is taking your looks and your mind and your thoughts about what is this when they're actually just a human being existing. And that's how sometimes like even like for me as a trans woman of color, growing up I felt like I had to be as white passing as possible, you know? I would be on Snapchat using filters with blue eyes to be like, oh, I could look cute with blue eyes and like try to make myself more white passing. And that is something I have also to like remove from myself and take pride in who I am as a brown trans Arabic woman. But also in the society we live in, we don't have that much privilege or rights. I was last night at the Skamless award, the Shameless award utdeling like ceremony, and I, well, typical me, I'm always late. If you know me, you know I'm late. So the ceremony started at 4 p.m. and I showed up at 5:30. So not even just late, literally very late. But I was having a whole dysphoric episode because I was stressed, I was nervous, I felt like I had to do a lot of other stuff, mentally and physically. So the moment I walk in, they're like, okay, there's one last 2 songs of an artist and then us on the stage. And I go on the stage and I stand here and I stand with the one Kaveh Rashidi, this like doctor type of person. And you have, no, Kaveh is there and you have Yunats from Gamnes, which is a queer Sami organization. Yunus is representing them, and then you have Kaveh. And I'm standing there, and my thoughts are like, please, like I'm like, please let me win. Not because I actually like feel like, oh, I'm gonna win, but more like this is the 7th year this award is being, because what can I say, like given out, and through all these 7 years, not one trans person have won that award. And I felt like I stood there as a representation for the trans people, but also trans people of color. So I stood there like, I swear, if the cis man wins, I'm gonna be petty. And not because I'm petty because he won, but because the system had it easy for a cis man who, when he goes out of the room, has privilege. And when I go out of the room, is that a Chinese? I would hear, you know? So I stood there like looking at you, and I was like, please, one of us, please, one of us, please, one of us, because I want this representation, the media coverage, the Norwegian society to talk about, oh, the Shameless Award went to actually someone or somebody or organization who actually works for removing shame around topics that are important. Because the person there is an ally. He fights for our rights that goes about our lives. But I fight for my life, for my existence, for my rights. Even with the system, if I have to get hormones, if I have to get HRT, you know, as a non-binary person, you don't have the right for that here in Norway at all. And if you're a trans-binary person, you have to go through hell and out with Dixon to get that stuff. And mind you, I have an appointment on Monday, and it's been 2.5 years, and still haven't given me one shot of estrogen. Like, literally, so when I'm going there on Monday at 9 a.m., I'm not even gonna have my morning coffee. I'm just gonna go right in, like, what's up? Give it to me. So that's also like a problem we have with the system. And especially when I started transitioning there physically, they would ask even more weird questions because of my background. They knew about me being kicked out because obviously I was an underage person. I'm just 19 right now. When I started, I was 15, 16 when I went my first time to Riksen. And they would be like, but do you think your mom would care if you could contact her? I'm like, yes, because if she do, she will try to stop me. And they're like, yeah, is that maybe like cultural stuff? And I could say like see, they would play on that, like, oh, maybe because you are a culture like that, but we don't do this stuff here. Oh, they hate you. Oh, that's not normal for us. You know, I'd be sitting there like, okay, thank you, but I'm not here to talk about my trauma. If I would do that, I will find me a therapy session. I'm here for my HRT, and I appreciate that you care about my family situation and my transitioning, but can we focus about that? And I sat there like thinking like, what is going on? It's none of it is actually giving what it's supposed to give. And that is some stuff we might experience as trans people of color, that people are extra curious or like extra worried about us because of our background. But if a white trans person comes and sits in an office with Riksen and be like, I want HRT, I feel like this, we're like, okay, let's help you with that. Help you figure out what you actually want to do with your life. For me, they want to figure out me, my family situation, why I got kicked out. Why can't they contact my mom and see what she thinks about me giving HRT? And they want to see documents about my experience with my mother and why I live outside the house. And some stuff like this, actually, they don't need the act or right for it, because what are they going to do with it, you know? You're just here to help me with my HRT. That's supposed to be focused on that. But also, again, like, as I said last night, so they're like, okay, I'm happy because the person is definitely an ally, but like, when is it time for the representation of trans people of color, you know? If you go read my articles about me, like sometimes people would like, let's say, how can I say it? Okay, let's say I had this one interview, I'm not gonna drop names of the person who wrote it, even though you can find it out, but like I had one with Khamtida, and the person sent me like an email and was like, I just want to double check, what pronouns do you use? Like, do you use he or she? And I was like, this interview I had was about me being a trans woman. like you said, I was like, oh, this trans woman is like taking over with TikTok, million of views and having shows, moving to Oslo from Stavanger, and she was like, just double check what pronouns do you use? Like he, she. I was like, I literally sent an email. Honestly, I thought it was easy for you to understand because this was about me being a trans woman. But like, since you're asking, yeah, I use she, her, and they, them if that makes you comfortable. I didn't actually say they, them because she would be confused. But like, she, her, had to go with that one, that card. So these are the stuff that I feel like people fear like more, like, what can I say, like don't like believe or like look for it, even though you would tell them, because they just view you as something else. And for somebody like me, I know, for example, my face is so-called masculine here because, oh, I have a big nose, I have facial hair, I have this brow bones, and my eyes, you know, I have really big eyes, I usually have curly hair, so don't mind my straightened hair. So a lot of these features people will look at like they think, they view it as a masculine way just because somebody is ethnic, you know? Because if you look at the other white people, usually have different features, different skin tones and types, and that's what they expect when they be like, yeah, I'm a trans woman, and but they see you as something else, and they see your brownness, they see your blackness, your ethnicity before they see who you are, and then they try to mix those two, and then they get confused.
Exactly.
So thank you. Oh, I need water.
Yeah, you should drink some. I think you summarized it pretty well, because I think that all people who are black and brown in general, you don't even have to be trans, but it's about what people see first when we walk into a room. And of course we have different healthcare services, doctors are greeting us in different ways. If we try to share our experiences with others, it'll always be a play on something else than what we are truly trying to share. And I think you're really just covering the whole topic really, really good. So I don't think I have to put any more into that. But I also want to tell you that I do relate a lot to what you are describing. And I think it is an important story to share. So I'm very glad that everybody is here to hear that. And you're also, because one of my questions for you was, whether you feel like the role of womanhood has been painted by your Jordanian background, but as you're sharing with us here, you are influenced by like Western beauty standards, and has that been rocky for you? Like, do you spend a lot of time trying to remove that kind of notion about what beauty is, and how are you finding yourself as Sultan, simply just the woman that you are? Would you like to share that?
Yeah. It's actually hard, especially as I said, most of the people around us look different than what I look like. And they're like, this reminded me of this one situation I had with a friend. And I was like, oh, I have a big nose, but I kind of love it. And she'd be like, no, your nose is not that big. I've seen worse. Like, she literally said that straight out in Norwegian. Because I was like, we was like going out, like we were like this fox, what we call, like, you know, like pre-party. And we were like, they were touching up on my makeup, like, oh, look at my nose. Like, because I contoured my nose. I was like, yeah, she's big, but like, she's cute. And she's like, yeah, like, your nose is not that big. I've seen worse. And I look at her like with my side eyes, like, I did not say my nose looked bad because it's big. I just said I like how it looks now, and I like that it's actually big. And she was like, I've seen worse. And that's when I realized that she lives by that standard of like, you need the small nose. And usually actually like some of the small noses also come from Africans, you know, like the small nose and the big lips type of look. That is very like African ethnic look in the face. So I said to her like, okay, you go you, but don't say that to me. I don't need to hear it. And like those are the stuff like you get like told or like learned from people around you. And especially when you see a lot of people around you, you usually want to fit in, you know? Oh, they have a small nose. I also want to have a small nose. Oh, you know, they're like tan, or like they're like white, rose, pink tone. Oh, I want to be that. Oh, they have straight hair. You know, like a lot of the times do like, oh, okay, well, hurry up. I got you. And so like a lot of the times people will be like, oh, I wish I had your thick hair, your beautiful hair. I hate that my hair is so thin, da 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 da. And I'm like, okay, thank you for the compliment, but like, I don't know, it's just very, very much like they're downplaying themselves to give me compliments, and that's something I don't like. But also, they do that with me, like, oh, your nose is not so big, or like, oh, no, you're beautiful, it's fine. And it's like, but I did not say I'm ugly, I did not say that. And it's a struggle, because when I look around, it's like, oh, everybody look like this. I also want to be like that, but I also need to realize that I am worthy and beautiful as I am,
yes,
as how I was created, and as how I represent. You know, like every like 1 or month, 2 months, I have like this weird time, like, do I need a nose job? Like, do I want to like stay as I am and like pay tribute to my ancestors, or do you want to like get a nose job? I'm like, honestly, none of that. I'm happy as I am. And that is like some thoughts that I get because of what I view around me and what people tell me. A lot of the times if I post a TikTok video like just like smiling or like lip syncing, people are like, oh, this one comment was like, oh, you're so beautiful, but I wish you just had like a smaller nose. You know, and it's like it's just very much like they view beauty in a different way, which can influence us. And I feel like it's just like you need to have like this shield protecting it. But it's hard, you know, we all are humans, so of course we're gonna fall sometimes for it. But I just like to hold on and like stay that. And I'm a person who's happy to be the special one in the room that just fit in, because when I walk in the room, I want like, okay, yeah, it's me. The attention is here. I don't want to be like, oh, she's just another one. And I realized also like people still recognize me from my TikTok videos for like 2 years ago when I had super short hair and I looked way different as well. And I'm like, okay, so like I am very special in my appearance that people still recognize me. And that is something fun to know. And I feel like as a black or brown person or just POC and you have like ethnic features and you feel like you're forced into beauty standards that, you know, what can I say? Like
you're not able to obtain it.
Yeah, exactly, or like not a part of. I feel like you just should look in the mirror and be like, I'm staying true to my colors. I am beautiful as I am, and just being a person who exists and shows the people around who you are is enough. Because around you, there's a lot of small kids and generations growing up looking for that one person who'll be like, oh, this is who I am, this is how I want to look like. I didn't have that growing up. I had Nicki Minaj, but that was a whole different thing. That was just my feminine side. But like looking at somebody like, oh, that's a big nosed trans woman. I did not have that. And that's just like a typical stuff that I feel like you should just hold on to, because we can't live in a world where beauty standards lead us into who we can be or not, but we should open the world and society for everybody existing with all type of features, with all type of skin tones and skin colors and ethnicities. So that is something important to stay focused on, and also to know your place as a white person, that you do have privilege, and if you should always like not take too much space, or at least not exclude also others who are brown or black, trans and queer individuals because of the fact of that. So, but moving on.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry, I thought we had 10 more minutes. No? Okay, well, thank you for everybody who was here listening. I also want to address the fact that even though we are talking about Sultan's experience in this conversation, it is not to say that we are not aware that people in our community have different struggles. We all share the struggles. Most of them are the same, some of them different from each other. But I think that it's quite important in meeting a trans person that we are very much individual. We are very much shaped by our backgrounds, the way that we move in this world, and to have that kind of care and love for each other and give each other that space is kind of what I want everybody to leave this room with. And I think that the things that you described are your perspective, your life, but this is lives that are hiding inside every identity, no matter our backgrounds. So to be aware of that and to have that gentleness towards each other, I think it's super important. And I want to thank you for being so vulnerable with us. This is, I never meant for you to feel like you had to share too much. I hope you've been comfortable. But I think that you're making history, Sultan, moving in this community, moving in our worlds, and I really, really thank you for existing. Yeah.
Thank you. Can I just ask this one? And also just, as Mabel said, it's very important to know that this is my perspective, my experience as who I am, but it also reflects on others' experience who might be in the same shoes or just have typical stuff and situation where they can relate to.
Yes.
So, of course, take care, make sure, what can I say? Yeah, take care of yourself, of your queer and trans friends, and just make sure that people around you are also safe. And also, we have came a long way, but we still have even a longer way to go to be where we actually want to be. So what I want you guys to leave with here, and even myself, is to be motivated to continue doing what you're doing, to continue existing, being who you are, representing exactly what you are, and just go out there, because we need people like you. We need people like you, like me, like Mona, like each and every one of us here, to be who we are, to take pride in it, and to actually just literally. Because one thing I also like to say is that for me, activism is not a choice. It's just about me being visible. Because when I go to the house as who I am like this, I am visible. And that's enough activism for me to show people that we queer and trans people exist, and of color as well. So that's what I want to leave you with, courage and motivation to continue being who you are, love yourself for that, and still hold into that, and as well also make sure that others around you having a life and a good one as who they are. So I want to thank you guys for having me.
Thank you so much, both of you. I wish we could have stayed longer, but Sim is going to kick us out because someone has rented the room after us. So, thank you again so much, and we'll be here again tomorrow for another conversation about Stolten og Høylytt movies. So come again tomorrow. And also later at the X-Gate we're having a party, obviously.
Wait. Can I also?
Let's go.
I'll just say loud. Also, there's a trans woman performing at Elska, so go show your support to Georgina. because she kills it. She's a good performer, and I'm not even 20, but I'm gonna sneak in to see her. So show your support for your trans performance.
Thank you so much.